Many of you have requested a more advanced Zeta slotting tutorial. I believe that using Zeta slotting and the tips and trick I showed in this video, it is possible to get sub-15 using this beginner-friendly method. Before we get into the video, here's a challenge for you. Like and subscribe before I solve this cube. And if you're already subscribed, please leave a comment to make my day. Thank you so much. Alright, let's get into the tutorial. First, we'll talk about cross. Cross is the most important step in many methods, and it helps a lot if you can plan the entire cross during inspection. For this, you can practice solving more than one piece at a time. For example, here we have blue, you can put in blue directly, but we can also see red here, and red is a bad edge since it cannot be solved using one move, and if we just solve blue, we will need a lot of moves to solve red. So instead what we can do is we can put red underneath blue, so that when we solve blue, red can go in as well, like this. And red becomes a good edge, and you can just insert. And if we continue, we can see that orange needs to go here and then an F2, so we can do that first before doing green, because once we do F2, green will be good and you can insert it as well. Planning an efficient cross is very important to get good times. It is also good to note that you can use D and YDU moves to make the cross easier. Here's another example. Here we have red that can go in directly, we have orange, we have green over here, and we have blue over here. So we can put in red and green respectively to each other, like this, and we can either do a U move to do this, but we can also do a D move and finger trick this like this, R2, and since your hand is here, F2. One of my favorite tricks is when you have a bad edge that needs to go into the back slot, you can put it either here or here, left or right, and you can put it here for example and do a wide R prime move, like this. And you put it in here, slide it in, and when you fix everything, this piece will be in there. Or the same thing on the other side, put it on the right side, and we do a wide L, put it in, and fix everything. This trick is very useful when you can't easily use one of the other edges to solve this into a good edge. So for example here we can do like this, but that is not as efficient as just solving these two edges normally and then inserting this into the back, like that. My final tip for cross is very advanced, but when you're solving the cross, you can keep in mind that the next step is to solve the edges. So during cross, you can also look out for chances to solve the edge while doing cross. Here I have an easy example where 3 edges are solved and red needs to go in here and just put it in with R2. If we do that normally, you will just have this, but you can see this edge over here and it needs to go over here. So what if we just hide it here so that when you put in red and when you do on R2, this edge will be solved and you will save yourself an edge to insert during Zeta slotting. Another example is when you're one move away from solving an edge, instead of just inserting it normally, you can see if the edge is in the top layer, and if it is, and oriented correctly, you can just put it in and do it like this. If you don't do that, after solving the cross, you will literally do the same thing. But once again, this is very advanced, and if you're capable of doing this, I think you're ready for CFOP. Alright, let's get into the next step, which is Zeta-slotting F2L. The first thing that is important is that you can insert an edge or a corner in many different ways and from many different angles. It doesn't always have to be in the front and you don't always have to rotate. For example, here we have an edge and it needs to go here. Normally you would rotate it all the way back here so that these two colors align and then insert it into the front, into the right. But if you can see that the top and the center colors are either the same or opposite colors, so like blue and green are opposites as you can see with the centers, you can recognize that this is a good edge and that you can solve it without rotating. This is called EO and used in many methods such as ZZ. When you see that an edge is good, you can insert it without rotating. You can instead put this in the back and insert it like this. It is exactly the same as inserting into the front, but you're just using the back side. The same goes for the right hand side. This is a good edge as green is opposite of blue and is facing the top, so we can put this in the back and insert it into the back like this. Next we can solve this, which is easy. This is a bad edge as you can see by the top color. This is not the opposite or the same color as the color facing you. This has to be green or blue to be a good edge, so this is a bad edge. And when you see a bad edge, you know that you have to rotate immediately like this, and then you can just insert normally. For this case, you can also do a rotation list by doing F moves, or a hedge, which is like this. Or on the right side. Now that we have the edges inserted, the same applies to the corners. You do not have to solve every case in the front with white facing you. So for example, we have this case, and instead of seeing this and thinking, oh, I have to rotate. Like rotating 2 times is very, very bad, and it takes around half a second to a second depending on how fast you rotate, and solving it like this. Instead, just hold it in this position and practice the AUG, but in the back. To pair these two up and then just insert. Another example will be when you get the same case, but in this orientation where white is not facing you, instead of rotating and doing it the normal way like this and then inserting, you can just stay in this orientation and use a different algorithm, for example this one, to set it into a 3 mover, and you can insert like that. Another AUG is to put the edge here and do a R U2 to set up this 3 mover, and you can also insert it the same. All of these AUGs are commonly used in CFOP, and it's very good to practice these to transition into CFOP cases. When you get this case where white is facing the top, and you would solve this case normally by doing triple sexy or triple inverse sexy, when you get it from a different angle, you don't have to rotate. For example, when it's in the back, you can put the corner here, and we can make this case and solve it like this. Something that is really important to mention is that these tricks are very advanced and most CFOP users will not even know them. This is because CFOP can be very intuitive, and if you want to go this step and learn all these AUGs, I really suggest you to just go learn CFOP, as it has a much higher ceiling and much more potential, and in my opinion also much more fun. But since you're already here, what do you do when a corner is stuck inside? Normally you would treat this as a triple sexy case and do triple sexy to get a new case and solve it like this. But instead you can use this algorithm. When white is facing the outside, you do this. And when white is facing you, you will do this algorithm. And on the left side, if white is facing you, you do this. And when the white sticker is facing the outside, once again, you can learn these AUGs and it will be very useful when you one day switch to CFOP. And finally, when you get to the last slot, you can use edge control to make sure you get a better OLL case. So here we just insert normally, we will get a terrible dot case, but instead, if we see that we have no other edges oriented, we can do a sledgehammer to get a much better case. Here's another case where you have this, so you will pair it up like this, and when you recognize this, if we do an extra S prime, insert, and do an S move, you will get cross done. Edge control is once again very, very advanced, so I'm not going to show too much in this video, but if you're interested, here I have a dedicated tutorial video on edge control. Those were my tips and tricks on how to become better at Zeta-slotting. Once again, I find it very important to mention that if you're willing to put so much effort in mastering the Zeta-slotting, I think it is literally better to simply switch to CFOP. I didn't want to make this video at first, as I believed that Zeta-slotting should be kept as simple as possible, but since so many of you requested it, I made it anyway. Still, I think that there's a ton to learn from this video, including many useful AUGs and many useful tricks, including cross and planning. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to help me out. Comment down below what tutorial you want to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.